Good afternoon, everybody. I am talking to myself right now. We hope you're enjoying everything so far. I apologize. I've gone all hyperactive and I don't know why. So anything could happen, basically. So I'm just putting that out there now. I have got a fantastic lineup for you. I will bring them all in so you can meet them, and then we'll introduce them all individually. And none of them really need an introduction. So, but we give them one anyway. So, firstly, oh, it's not working. Hold on a sec. It's not clicking. We have Jane. Hello, Jane. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Yeah, great. Looking forward to this.
And we have Wayne. Hello.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Karen. You all right?
I think so. We have Laura.
Hi, everyone.
We have the man himself, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe. I love talking to you. Sorry, all of you I'm going to love talking to, but I don't know what it is with Kieran. I don't know. And then I told you, you're going to have to sort me out. I'm on one today. And then we've got Tim. Hi, Tim. Thank you all, firstly, for joining me. Thank you all for coming on. And yet again, like everyone else this weekend, giving us your time and helping us raise much needed funds for this fantastic charity. There's lots of charities that need funds right now. But obviously at the moment with lockdowns and everything else, people are struggling more with mental health, probably more than ever. And it's probably a lot more common than it has been. So for us all to come together and help this charity is a fantastic, amazing thing. And me personally, I appreciate every single one of you for coming on and probably missing your Sunday lunch for this. More importantly. So I don't think, like I said, none of you need an introduction, but we'll give you one anyway. So Jane, so anyone that isn't aware who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, please. It's like a dating show. Tell me a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Jane, and I am an investigator for Are You Haunted? I've been interested in the paranormal all my life, and I've been investigating for a lot of years now. So yeah, don't know what else to tell you really. I'm spooky through and through.
And she's not looking for a date. Wayne, what about you? And what about you? I think you might have.
I'm sorry, Karen. I missed the actual first bit of it. You just got off screen, but.
Oh, I think his internet's on the blink.
Yeah, like team as a investigator. Been investigating.
Oh no,
we've lost him.
Go out there and see some fantastic places.
Sorry, you kept breaking up. Then you were either free. Oh no, he's gone now. Oh no, he's back. You're freezing and your sound's going.
Oh.
Wait, try logging out and then logging back in, because sometimes that have Oh, I'll send him a message.
Right. Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so it's you now, Laura, because we've gone the opposite way.
I was expecting to go last. Hello, everybody. I'm Laura. I run and own Twilight Ghost Hunts. Gosh, we've been running for about 6 years, but I've been working in the paranormal world for about 10. I love horror. I fell in love with Freddy Krueger at age 7. I'm weird. I don't know what to say. So we do tend to merge a little bit of horror on our events. I'm a working witch as well. So we tend to incorporate a little bit of that and bring a little bit of calm to a much needed manic world sometimes. And I just love everything that we do. I love the paranormal world and all the lovely people in it. That's me.
Tim, what about you? Introduce yourself, please.
I'm just crazy. Just lost the plot, to be honest with you. No, no, I'm Tim. I'm a paranormal investigator researcher. I've been doing it for a long while. And basically, that's it, really. Represent Good UK. Don't ask why we picked that. I ain't got that. Could have been anything. Could have been Pandora's box or anything you'd like. And we're on Power Unity, just that side which represents all teams to get together. New drama and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's basically it about me, really.
Okay. And obviously, Kieran, you really don't need an introduction, but we're going to give you an introduction because that's the polite thing to do, even though every man and his dog knows who you are. Well, they should do.
Every man and their dog. That's
well, Kieran, you've been around. No disrespect, but you've been around for a long time and you are a respected member of the paranormal community.
I was going to say you've been around for quite a while. Doesn't sound positive, but then you added by saying respected member. That's lovely. That's all right. That's fine.
I have been around well. Deprivation. I apologise.
Have you got your bus pass yet? That's what she's going to say.
I know. That's what she's saying. Yes, exactly. You've got your OAP discount. Yeah, so I'm a parapsychologist, but also a ghost hunter. I've been involved in parapsychology now for, I guess, about 30 plus years, from a very early age. Equally, like Laura, fascinated by horror stories, and was a huge Freddy Krueger fan as well. As a youngster, even concerned my parents, the amount of horror I used to view. But yes, like everybody on this panel, my heart and my passion is in ghost hunting. So looking forward to chat to everybody on the panel and hear what we've all got to say.
And Kieran, Ed has just said he's glad that you're well this time around, because unfortunately you were unwell last time you came on. You know, hats off to you. You struggled through and you stayed with us, even though you were unwell, and we did appreciate it. So people are just commenting saying that they're glad you're well now and you've got rid of your cold and you're okay in your house.
Yes, thank you very much. It takes on a whole different perspective, doesn't it, when you say you were unwell last time? Everybody thinks of something else, but yeah, it was just a cold. It was a blocked nose, blocked sinuses and everything. But yes, no, I'm absolutely fine now. So raring to go. Well,
the first question is actually for you yourself, and it's Dan with, and he says, what is your overall view? What's your overall view on Most Haunted is what he's asked.
That's really
that's quite an elaborate.
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's a double-barreled one. Because there was Most Haunted when I was part of Most Haunted. There was Most Haunted when I wasn't part of Most Haunted, when Phil, for example, was the investigator, or Jason Carl prior to that. And then there's the Most Haunted now. So it's taken on kind of lots of different guises, I guess you could say, or lots of different members, lots of different characters. But throughout all of it, Most Haunted has always been, as it was when I was part of it, and Phil, etc., a televised investigation of a haunted property. That's the fact. In terms of how it approaches its investigations, I think everybody who knows myself, who knows Phil, for example, will know that the investigations were very much led by Carl and Yvette. So it's their investigations and how they would run investigations. The Phil, myself, Jason Carl, to an extent, Steve Parsons was involved briefly as well, would always be investigators who they investigate outside of Most Haunted as well. So they would have their own way of investigating, and a couple of times or a few times you'd see kind of elements of that happening in the show. But in terms of my overall general feelings about Most Haunted, I'm incredibly grateful for the experience that I had at Most Haunted. It wouldn't have me here, to be honest. I was a parapsychologist before Most Haunted. When I finished with it in 2010, I was still a parapsychologist and still am a parapsychologist. But to be honest, if it wasn't for Most Haunted, I would still be stuck in my university office and my lab doing parapsychology research, and there would be no man and his dog that would know who I am. Let's be honest. It's given me that publicity, that kind of situation where I'm able to talk about this stuff. I'm able to be part of panels like this, attend conferences, and I'm able to interact with other ghost hunters. You know, I was doing that to a little extent as a parapsychologist, but Most Haunted gave me that advantage. So regardless of how I feel about the investigative methods, and everybody knows how I feel about it, it's not the way I would approach investigations. I'm incredibly grateful to Carl and Yvette and to the Most Haunted team for the time that I had and what it's given me. It's been brilliant.
You know, it was a platform. It was a platform at one point in your life, and like you said, you were the same man before, same man now than what you were before you even went on the show. You haven't changed who you are or the way you are in any way at all. Apart from you're just, I suppose, better known. You're still the same person.
Yeah, just better known. And everybody had their jobs coming into Most Haunted, you know. And as people know, as part of the Most Haunted team, the team had their own jobs: cameraman, soundman, script supervisor, makeup artist. But then also as part of that team, there were those individuals who, of course, changed faces over the years, who were an investigator. You know, so when the show finished, people went back to their normal jobs. So they would be, you know, a makeup artist, a script supervisor, cameraman. They would still be doing those things, but the investigators went back to investigating. But then also the other thing is the show, in a way, although the panel here will hate me for saying it, in a way reflects in a way the panel here, to be honest, not in terms of how the investigations are conducted, but the fact that when you speak to ghost hunters and ghost investigators and paranormal investigators, you know, all of us tend to have day jobs because you can't make a living 24/7 from being investigator. You just can't do it. You know, so in a way, the show kind of reflected that people had their jobs, and then also they were Most Haunted investigators as well. But yes, everybody knows. I would despair at being presented with evidence of things being thrown or people being scratched or people faint. It's just so much phenomena that would happen very, very quickly in a short period. And I would despair at that because, as the panel members would know, the reality of when you go into an investigation is sometimes it can be like watching paint dry. You know, it can be a long time before anything happens. And sometimes the most significant and exciting thing that can happen is that sense of presence, that there's somebody there with you, or just a single EVP in a whole event. That can be an exciting thing. So when everything kicks off and it's all World War III going on, I kind of hold my hands up and go, really, is that the reality of ghost hunting as we know it? Anyway, I've spoken too much.
That's all right. And the thing is, at the end of the day, in my opinion, love it or hate it or whatever your opinions are, and people can deny it as much as they want to, but a lot of us started out because of it, because we watched it and all the rest of it. And it was the longest running UK show. So, like I say, whether it's one of those things, you either love it or you hate it. Regardless, either way, nobody can sit there and say they never ever watched it. I've never come across an investigator yet that has never actually watched the show when it was on. I'll be shocked to find someone in the field that hasn't watched an episode, and I don't believe you'll find anyone.
Yeah, but it's created that situation. I think there are advantages and disadvantages. For those that have watched it and weren't ghost hunting before, if it gave them the impetus or the interest to actually go out and ghost hunt, then I think that's a good thing, because then they would go out and ghost hunt and find out the reality of what it's all about versus an hour where everything kicks off. You know, so that's a good thing. I think there's the disadvantages, which it paints a picture of that's what ghost hunting is. You know, and I think that's kind of the negative, the point for discussion as well. And of course, it's had an impact on access to venues as well. You know, it's actually within my field and within the field of sociology, there is actually a term which is the most haunted effect, which is where a venue has been on Most Haunted or any TV show, and then they're able to charge for investigations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was back in the day as a teenager, I approached Hellfire Caves to do an investigation, and they asked me how much they would need to pay me to do it. Over 30 years ago. That's unheard of now. You would never get that now. So that most haunted effect has kind of switched the field round so that we as ghost hunters, and I say we, the whole panel, know that unfortunately for a lot of venues, you need to pay to get access to those venues. So I think that's a obvious disadvantage.
And there's a good point there. Sarah says, if it wasn't for Most Haunted, she never would have met Phil. So, and he wouldn't be her husband. So there you go.
That's so
There's
true.
always a positive in everything.
Yeah, and we never would have had Are You Haunted as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We never would have had Are You Haunted and Jane and Wayne. Exactly. So brilliant. Yeah. Got a lot to thank for.
Okay, Stu Weaver wants to know. I'll put the question on screen. This is to all of you, so we'll go around individually. What's the most unique way of ghost hunting that you've encountered? We'll go reverse, right? So first, Tim.
Oh, unique way of ghost hunting. Oh, unique. Oh, crikey.
I knew you'd say all crikey. That's why I went to you first.
Yeah, the unique way. I don't know. I suppose deep sea diving. People have been investigating paranormal deep. Yeah, it's true. People have been deep sea diving.
I've seen it on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I need to know how this works now. Oh my gosh.
I know a man. I will put you in touch, Laura.
It's a copy flipper. I don't know how that. I don't know how that would work, but it's interesting. I suppose there'd be, paranormal investigation or ghost hunting on the moon next. I suppose, I don't know. It depends. I don't know. A unique way. Oh, so I just know my way. Like I think most investigators and ghost hunters do their own thing. I hope so. I think if you copying someone, then it might not work for you. Just because you see something on TV, you think, oh, I'm going to copy that. That probably won't work for you. You over the years.
You've got to be an individual, haven't you, Tim?
Yeah, you got to do your own thing, I think, and what works for you when you investigate. I mean, you know me. I go for. I'm very strict on the conditions of the property. Years ago, you didn't have all the Wi-Fi and you didn't have all all that sort of thing going on, and that interferes with all the equipment, so it makes it difficult to sustain that as the genuine, evidence. Now it's very difficult. You've got Wi-Fi and you've got electric pylons. You've got cables running under the wall, in the wall, under the floor, and so you have to, it's so difficult. Unique. Oh, I don't know. Spend a night in the morgue and see if you on your own, obviously. See if you come across, hear anything or something. I think being on your own is a unique experience. A lot of people don't do it. Or scared to. I was speaking to Richard Felix, wherever he was yesterday, in St. He used to love going on places on his own, and just to add to that, like was a big thing. I think it's a. I can't think of anything else at the time. Was it 2002? Was it something like that? I can't think of anything out there. There was nothing, and like he said, his experience with them the same. He was just lucky to go with all the locations. That's what he loved about it. He had the opportunity to go to all these different locations. I don't know if Kieran felt the same with that. It was a brilliant opportunity to, investigate all these places and the history and stuff like that. I love the history as well. I love that. I mean, I think that was, I miss Most Haunted to that way, and I ain't going to add no more to that. But it was good. I had no argument with it.
Right, Wayne.
Next.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm cutting you off. No, I'm joking.
I'm
Paul, I want to check that we can actually hear him for a start, because unfortunately we kept losing connection.
Yeah,
So
I've actually changed devices now, so I'm hoping this is a little bit better.
oh, I can hear you now. I can see you, and you're not freezing anymore. But somebody's got interference. I'm just not sure who it is. But it's not you.
Okay, right. So
I think
yeah,
it's me. I've got shock.
unique ways of investigating. I think the only advice I would give with unique ways of investigating is what works for the individual. So when you're out investigating, whatever works for you. And I think no matter what you watch or who you speak to, is everybody has got a different way of investigating the paranormal. It doesn't mean that's the correct way of investigating the paranormal. You know, you can spend too much time on gadgets, technology, when really you just need to be there and using your own senses and seeing what's around you. Yes, these gadgets out there, which are environmental testers designed to test what's happening around you, whether it be a temperature drop, etc., etc. But unique ways of investigating. I think my only advice to anybody who's starting out is don't follow one particular way. Just try to what works best for you. And each venue, what you be investigating, may even change the way you do it, whether it be on your own, whether you do somebody else. You can concentrate too hard on wanting paranormal things to happen. So you just really need to be yourself, walk around. You know, we've found we've been in places and just talking between each other, and that's usually when something will happen. You know, and as we do in the show, have recorders recording, and not necessarily in your hand, but you can go back to them later on, whether they're the cameras or the audio, and you can see bits and pieces what you may have missed on the night. So it's down to the individual. Whatever works for you would be my advice.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It is literally what works for you.
Yeah.
Ladies, I'm going to move on to the next question, because otherwise we're not going to get through them, unfortunately. Right, okay, I need to know this. I need to know this answer, though. One answer for all of you individually. I've asked Tim this before. I need to know, what is your go-to snack before I ask you another question from the audience. Laura.
Oh, go-to snack.
Yeah, come on. Everyone's got one.
Crispy Creme donuts. There you go. Winning.
Oh, Kieran.
It has to be Haribo or meatball and spaghetti toasty.
Ooh. Jane.
Chili crackers.
Oh, get her. Wayne.
Any chocolate biscuit.
Any chocolate bit. Tim.
Whatever the girls bring, whatever they got.
Whatever the girls bring. Basically, they bring the snacks, they supply them, and you eat them.
Yeah, I'm too tight,
Okay.
so whatever they got.
They
did get me. Can I just say quickly? They did get me one night. They had these chili crisps, right, and they were super spicy. And I said, "What you got?" Well, we've got some crisps. So I grabbed a handful. I go, "Well, okay, thank you." Grabbed a handful, shoved them all in my mouth as like a pig. They were the really hot, super chilly ones. My eyes were watering. I couldn't see. I think they taught me a lesson that night. Yeah, that was fun.
So, Laura, this one's for you. Do you all think that when we are able to go out and investigate again, will spirit be less or more active? This is something we've been talking about all weekend, actually. So I'll be interested to see what your opinions are on this one.
It's so weird, isn't it? I mean, we've been discussing, particularly me and my best friend, who works as one of the team members of Twilight, how will venues be? How will just the whole spirit world be when we return? It's been asleep. Well, we've been asleep. Maybe they haven't. We don't know. I think the thing is, a lot of the venues in particular that mainly open just for ghost hunting and for things like weddings and stuff like that, they have literally been laying dormant now for so long. I'm so curious to see what it will be like. My best friend, like I was saying, she works at a beautiful hotel. It's called the Grimsdyke, actually. You can have a Google. Vincent Price filmed there, and loads of other horror films. Beautiful. And I've been there many times, super duper active, and this is the first time in its whole entire history, even from when it was a home, when the operas were going on there and stuff like that, it's the first time ever that nobody has been at the hotel. So it just must be so weird for kind of, you know, any spirits that are aware of us to not have anything going on. It's just so silent. So I'm hoping it'll be really, really active, but it might take a little while to get back into it. Not too sure.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Kieran? Do you think it's going to be? Do you think some opinions have been this weekend? Surely, some people have said in some locations that they potentially could have actually missed the contact.
Yeah, I don't think from my perspective, I don't think there's going to be any difference in terms of the hauntings. So the hauntings are going to happen no matter what. Yeah,
If
so
you're there or not.
the hauntings are going on, even if we're not there. It's like the tree falling in a forest. You know, it's still going on. But the difference might be, and this is not a theory I subscribe to, but Wimmering Manor is a good example of that in Portsmouth. When I had done many investigations there was a feeling that it had been over investigated. And because it had been over investigated, that therefore had a negative impact on the evidence that people were getting. It felt like, you know, it's almost as though the presence is there. We're no longer interested in communicating or showing themselves, or, you know, something about the energy has changed. Now, I don't buy into that, but I think if you want to answer that question, aside from my skeptical viewpoint, which says it should be the same, I don't expect there to be any difference, the paranormal viewpoint could be that there's been this whole period of time when there hasn't been any investigations at all. So is the reverse true from over investigating, where, you know, with over investigation you get a drop in activity? With a location that hasn't been investigated for 18 months or so, do you therefore get an increase? Open to debate.
Yeah, agree. And I think, do we all pretty much agree on that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming we all kind of got the same sort of opinion on that, but I just wanted to ask a couple of you your thoughts. Jane Hartley, hi Jane, bless her, she's been on watching most of the weekend. Where is the most scariest place you've investigated? And we'll go with the other Jane who answer this question first.
Let me have a think, because there's been so many that have been quite creepy. I think the one that scared me the most recently would have been Thorn Workhouse, because it was so noisy, if you like. There was so much audible activity going on that shook it all. So I found that pretty scary. The building itself isn't scary. It's not like an old castle or anything, but actually what was happening I found scariest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wayne?
Scary, I wouldn't really use the word scary, because I hope to think I'm not really freaked out or scared by it. The most place, I think, the old Nick in Gainsborough, something strange happened there where I was in a corridor and I felt like pressure on my back shoulders, like being pushed. I think that's probably the thing I would go back to thinking, can't really explain that. I don't really know what happened there. So, yeah, that was a bit freaky. So I think that's the place for me.
What about you, Laura?
Definitely Kelvedon Hatch. God, yeah. Do you know what? Quite happily, I'd probably now, after a very, very long time, and being very tired, so I don't care, I'd walk around any building now on my own. But Kelvedon Hatch, we've had some terrifying experiences there, and it's not just like things where, you know, because the generators kick in there, and sometimes it's quite amusing when our guests don't know and everyone screams. That means the energy's up in the air and everyone giggles, and it's not because of things like that. You know, people do scream at that. They're seeing that it can either be very, very quiet Kelvedon or very, very much alive, and when it is, it feels, I don't know, it just feels very threatening sometimes. I don't like it. It's, you get that kind of impending doom as you drive down through the woods on the way in there, and your heart starts pounding a little bit. So it's definitely Kelvedon.
See, now this is an interesting question for me to ask you, Kieran.
Yes, because I don't tend to get scared in locations. So is it the most scariest place would be ones that look scary and have a scary reputation? So the Second World War bunker on the Channel Islands in Guernsey, that it's just horrific looking, and of course it has an awful history during the World War II with the occupation. of Guernsey by the Nazis. So it has that awful kind of suggestion element. That's a scary place, I would say. Another one, I think, on the basis of what happened, would actually be Tyndale Farm. And it would be the most haunted live that we did for Tyndale Farm. And that was the one where people appeared to collapse for no reason. Now, I think there's a purely psychological explanation for what happened. I think there was a couple of physical elements that happened. I think there was some drama involved as well. But there were members of the crew that genuinely fainted on that particular evening. They genuinely fainted, and it was literally from a crew of about 10 that were standing in that room down to 3, Yvette, myself, and one other person, because everybody else had to be taken out because of fainting or difficulty breathing. For me, that would probably be the scariest place, but not because of there being a presence of particular ghosts or demons or whatever you want to call it, but scariest because you just don't expect it. You're standing there with 10 people, and then within an hour, there's only 3 of you. So it's scary, as in, what do you do? You know, what's going on here? So,
well, I can understand that. That was. What about you, Tim? Is there anywhere for you?
Well, I wouldn't say scary, but I'd say, what's the word? You know, it doesn't feel right. You feel uncomfortable. I've had a private residence where the families had to move out, and we got asked to investigate. And there were some strange things happen in there, you know. And the EVPs, I think I had, I'm trying to think how many I had, something like 50 EVPs in like 2 hours. And there was all these different voices. It was crazy, active, really active. But it was so weird. I mean, even my associate Andrew Wright, he was in the kitchen and he was doing a little camera work. And he does his little camera thing. You can hear his footsteps. You heard someone go around, or footsteps around him, and a voice in his ear. And I know Andrew. Andrew doesn't normally get scared of any place, any location. But he come and joined us. He left. He went from that place like anything. Even the digestive one kept him, didn't understand that. But that was the most strangest place you've ever known. And even going there, you felt a bit. That's only a house, you know. What can do? You know, what's so special about a house? It's just a house. But you feel a bit like some locations. You feel a bit just like a dread. But that could be to me because I am like an empath. So I do feel things when I go around locations. So it could be that, but that I felt uncomfortable there. Staying there on your own. I don't know how long I'd last. There was stuff.
Oh, blimey.
Yes, there was all sorts going on in that property.
Right. Sue would like to know, what is the best advice you can give someone just starting out having a go at being a ghost hunter, please? So we will go with you, Laura.
Oh, okay. Do you know what? I would definitely say that so many groups work in so many different ways. And I think it's about trying, different event companies, seeing kind of, who you gel with, and just get involved as well. Don't be scared. When you attend your first event, literally, I was terrified. And I remember being at the London Tombs, and I wanted so much for stuff to happen. I was so desperate and so excited. But I literally sat like with my hood up the whole time, like, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. I was terrified and I didn't say a word. And I got home the next day and I thought, what if I'd have said something? Maybe something would have happened. And I just think that's the most important thing. When you pay all that money to go, get the most from that experience, have fun and make sure you use your voice, call out, be brave, do a lone vigil, and get the most from your experience.
Kieran?
Yeah, I would echo exactly what Laura said. It's that key point. Give it a go. If you're just starting out, you're not sure what to do, maybe hook up with a local group if there is a group around you, or reputable events company, of which there are many, and just start. Just give it a go. From that point, I would also, although that's me because I'm slightly bookish, I would recommend picking up a couple of key books. to learn a little bit more about what's going on. Ghostology by Steve Parsons is a good one. Some of the Harry Price stuff as well. Harry Price, a ghost hunter. But aside from that, yeah, just give it a go, get started, and find out what approach works for you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to a new question for everyone, because I think we pretty much all give pretty much the similar advice with regards to that question. If you don't give it a go, you don't know. It's all well and good watching YouTube, watching the TV shows and everything else, but having your own experience and going and seeing it and doing it for yourself is a completely whole new ball game. So I think we all agree with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some odd comments coming in. I'm not even sure whether I want to read that one out. And the worst part is, it's actually one of my moderators that has actually said it. So, yep, someone mentioned about naked ghost hunting. No, thank you very much.
Well, I have to say, I'm
Oh.
quite disappointed that you didn't ask me that question about unique way of ghost hunting, because one of the most unique way of ghost hunting that I've ever seen was when I was in the States, and the medium that they had along with them. So most groups do have a medium or a sensitive or a psychic, or like Tim said, being an empath, was a rumpologist. And so prior to the investigation, she gave a reading for everybody by looking at their bottom. That's a unique way to ghost hunt.
There was one in the paper, weren't there? There was an investigator who went and investigated completely nude. I did read that somewhere. He was completely nude.
I'm still getting over what? What?
Yeah, it was completely. It was in the paper somewhere. It was completely nude investigating. I said nude investigator with this evidence. I don't know what he caught, unless he put himself in the door. I don't know, but
he probably caught a cold with no clothes on.
I don't want to know what he caught. Oh my goodness! I don't know where this is going.
Oh my gosh!
Where does he keep his
Wow!
torch?
Tim's frozen. Wow. What the?
Where'd you put your torch?
Yeah, exactly. Where do you put all your kit? Exactly.
Oh my goodness! I sound like my mother. Oh my goodness me! Whatever next?
Now I've seen.
Like literally, that was a thought. Like a rump on it. Wow. Suppose you can read anything these days. Moving on. I can't get over. That's just done me now. I don't know what to. I was not expecting you to say that. I was a professional, me, not. I can't even see that because I've got water in my eyes. What was the most? Oh, blimey! Sorry. What was the most scary experience of panel? We already asked that question, Leslie. I do apologise, but I don't want to ask the guys again. I hope you don't mind and don't think me being rude. Matt says it's very. Oh God. Matt, it's very debatable whether any electronic sensing devices can be classified as evidence of anything beyond an unknown source of frequencies or signals. That is a good point. Do you think, Kieran?
Yes, I'm just trying to fully understand the question. It's very debatable whether any electronic sensing can be classified as evidence of anything beyond. Well, it's debatable. There's two types of electronic sensing devices: those that are made for environmental monitoring. So those devices that are specifically made to measure temperature, to measure electromagnetic fields, to measure humidity, right? So those electronic devices. And so I'd say, in response to Matt's point, is that for those devices, yes, they are detecting actual known sources of signals, whatever it is, whether it's electric signals, whether it's sound, whether it's any environmental signal, they can. It's when you get into that realm of ghost gadgets, ghost devices, and I'll speak about them as if I'm a fan, but I'm not a huge fan, but the ghost devices themselves that are made specifically for ghost hunting, then absolutely Matt's right, because that's the theory underlining them. or underlying them, I should say, when you have devices that are meant to be able to sense particular frequencies or signals that ghosts give out, well, yeah, of course, that's the theory behind them. As a parapsychologist and scientist, I don't see the merit of them. I see the engaging aspect of them and how fun they can be for ghost hunting. But given that from my perspective, we don't really know what we're dealing with when we're talking about ghosts, how can we create a piece of kit to sense them? So
Exactly.
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's a simple answer. I'd love to hear what others have to say on the panel, but yeah, it's just my perspective on things.
It's funny,
I
we were
completely agree.
in. Sorry, Jane, do apologise.
That's all right. I just said I completely agree, and that's
Yeah.
why we made a conscious decision not to use things like that. So it was just things that you corroborate, like our own senses.
See, I was going to say, I've spoken to Brandon Alvis a couple of times in the past couple of weeks, and he was telling me he's working with scientists and things, and he's using equipment that wasn't actually designed. He's currently using equipment that wasn't even designed for investigating in the first place. And like I said, he's taken a very scientific view of it all. And I found it ever so interesting what he was talking about. Some of it I didn't understand because I could be honest, when it comes to science and things, but it was very interesting what point of views he had. And like you said about having kit and using it, but it hasn't specifically been designed for investigating and getting responses and things like that. Now, I think that's really interesting, just bringing that into the mix a bit, talking to him about that, rather than using, say, a K2 or whatever, or these things are specifically built for the job. So I think that's maybe explore a bit more.
I also think, just adding on to that, Karen, is that what Kieran was saying there is the gadgets what's being invented for, let's say, ghost hunting, which we don't know really what's in them and who's invented them. Sometimes when you're out there investigating, they can spend so much time focusing on the particular device, whether it be lights and stuff like that. They could actually be missing actual paranormal activity, voices, or things what's happening around them, because they're focusing or relying so much on the equipment what's being designed, well, as Karen says, what we don't know, it actually detects spirits or ghosts. Having the environmental testers in the background, so if we do see a temperature drop or something like that, having them to test that is something totally different to spending all your time looking at lights or some little gadgets what other people have brought on.
Thing is, there's so many gadgets now, isn't there? And I think the way the world's moving, everything is going in a technical way, despite what we're actually doing, and everyone is catering for everyone. But I think that my only biggest bugbear at the moment is people that are relying on apps on their phones and using them in ghost hunts. It's a phone. It is literally nothing to do with anything with ghost hunting, and they're using a word generator to use as a vigil, and I find it mind-blowing. I think we kind of maybe tend, like you said, to rely maybe a little bit too much on equipment. I think it's quite good to strip us back to basics. And
I think it can be distracting, can't it, Laura? Like Wayne said, it can be distracting because, like you said, you'd be waiting for a response on that, but you could actually be missing things you could be picking up on and so on, because everyone's just sat around looking, waiting for something to beep or to light up or whatever.
Listen, when them little lights go, it's amazing, but at the same time, it's like what you were saying, we don't know what we're working with. If we did, then none of us would be doing it still. So it's it's great to use them and have them as backup. I just think maybe we shouldn't rely as much kind of on them.
And picking up on your point, quick fire question: phone apps, yes or no, Laura?
No.
Kieran?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So no. So I agree 100% with what Laura's saying about those sorts of apps. There are a few apps, again, that aren't about ghost hunting. So you can use kind of an aspect of your phone which measures vibration. You could use that if you're looking at vibration, but absolutely. So yes, no, because I agree 100% with Laura, and then yes for those one or two apps that are specifically around environment or things that you can use the functions of the phone for.
Yeah, that's completely different. Yeah, I understand that. Wayne? Okay, word generator apps. I'll put it like that instead.
No.
Because I completely understand where Laura and Kieran are both coming from.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
what they've both said.
Yeah. For things like that, it'd be a no for me, because it could even send you in a wrong direction. If a particular name comes out and everybody starts asking for this particular name, you know, it's something what's being generated, and actually you're missing something or somebody's name what actually belongs to the place.
Yeah. Jane?
Yeah, for that type of app, I'd say no, definitely not. Don't rely on anything
Tim?
like that.
Oh, well, it depends. This is the thing. I mean, it really depends. Some, like I said, I think Kieran said like certain apps are just a waste of time. I think is it Goose Radar or something? I don't know. I've tried a few. One of them that just kept ranting on a load of rubbish. I was just going the devil constantly, and I thought, the hell is this? We have
That's
been
one of
asked
the
to
favourite
try.
words, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just kept going on, and that was in demonic voices. Or something. God, I've been asked to try these things, and I thought you got to try them because you've been asked, you know, and see what they do. But no, not really. I mean, the only odd occasion where I've used a what do you call it, an app. I suppose that's an app in a sense, and it's a banked app where it's got like something like 4,000, 5,000 words on there. And I've used that, and actually, I've actually got some really amazing evidence from it. I asked a question and got an answer, and that was a continuous thing for a good 20 minutes. And everything I asked the question, I got the answer, which was quite interesting. But that's one of those things you have to experiment with all different things. I mean, if you ask me to use this demon app thing again, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't use it because I find it's rubbish. So it's trial and error with them. But there is a lot of rubbish out there. I've got it. Just a gimmick, isn't it? Well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just a gimmick, and I think Phil makes a good point. The voice recorder on the phone. You know, in the past, as ghost hunters, we would have used a pen and paper or a dictaphone. The voice recorder on the phone is always a possibility. You know, that's kind of a useful app. So it's kind of it's hit and miss, but it's interesting to hear Tim talk about using some of them to be able to research them to know whether you would continue to use it or not. I think that's always a useful way to go as well.
I went too far then. Shell says, Shell from Twilight. Oh, we've lost Jane now. Says, is there a location that unsettled you so much that you refuse to go back to investigate? Wayne?
I think for me it'd be no. I think if there was somewhere where they'd be like that, I would be wanting to go back even more. So if there were a particular location I went to where there was something what made me feel that way, you know, then going out of the environment and then coming back at a separate date, it'd be very interesting to see if I were getting the same results. So I think for me, that would make me want to go back even more to see if I can repeat what happening on the time or on the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, anybody else have any opinions?
I don't think I've ever been. I think exactly the same answer. I've never been anywhere that's done that anything's happened and I've never wanted to go back. The only exception, I think, the first time and couple of times that we had to work at Kelvedon, and it was just it so happens those 2 nights a lot happened. So going back to it was like just like that feeling of dread, but it wasn't like I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go back in a very morbidly curious way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I wanted it to happen again.
I think surely we'd all want to go back, because if it made you feel that unsettled as the investigator in you, of course you'd want to go back and and find out and see you get the same feeling again.
Absolutely.
See what happens and so on. Isn't that the whole point of going out there and doing this? Is for an experience, surely, and to uncover information, truth, and so on. Vanessa says, do you think old style equipment, dowsing rods, spirit boards, etc., is better than these electronic devices that most of us use now? And yet, that's another thing. We're all different. Some of us like our kit. Some people like old school, and depending on location, sometimes we might use a bit of both, or you know, it really depends. go with Kieran for this one first.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because obviously using those sorts of things is taking very much a, for want of a better word, a spiritualism or spiritualist type approach to ghost hunting. So I wouldn't be a fan. But then again, it's each to their own. As people know, I have a particular way that I like to investigate, and I'm also a fan of seeing other people and other groups investigate. It would be arrogant of me to say that there's one way to investigate. So if people wanted to use those particular tools because it tied in with their beliefs, then absolutely. People often ask me about spirit boards and Ouija boards and ask me if I think that there's anything in them, and are they really communicating with spirit? And I say no, not at all. And then they say, well, do you advocate using them? And I say, well, if you think they're negative and they're open doorways to demons, etc., then don't use them. So on the one hand, I think there's perfectly natural explanation. On the other hand, it kind of highlights why I would say don't use it if you think there's a negative outcome all the time. When you're talking about dowsing rods and spirit boards, absolutely. If you believe in those things, if you think that they can bring something to the investigation, then who am I to say that you can't use them? If you then present them to somebody like a scientist like myself and say, oh, look, amazing evidence, just don't do that, because a scientist is not interested in those sorts of things. But otherwise, each to their own.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're all kind of in agreement. If they are one of those things, it's the same as there were previous question. I've lost it now because I scrolled too quick and I've lost the question. But somebody mentioned about mediums. I am a medium, but I don't always use my abilities on an investigation. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Because for me, there are other tools. We are a tool. We can use ourselves and our own senses. But I also think you should try other things as well. And not everyone is adverse to a medium. Not everyone likes a medium. Not everyone likes to work with one. So, yet again, like the equipment, old school, new school, it's personal choice, surely.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the paranormal's so interesting, is because I think everybody on the panel is saying the same. What we're saying is there's no right or wrong way of doing anything. And because we have our own particular ways of doing things, we're not actually saying that all these other bits and pieces, what people are using, are wrong to do that. It's everybody to their own. They must go through this natural course of trying different things to see if that works for them, and then move into maybe something else. That's the paranormal journey, what they must make themselves. There's no right or wrong way of doing anything.
So everyone's an individual. We all work differently. We all work in our own way. So, like you said, I do believe there is no right or wrong way. You do what you think, as long as you're respectful in what you're doing and you're not harming anyone or hurting anyone in any way, then I don't see the problem. And that's just my personal opinion.
Totally.
Agreed.
Totally.
Agree. It's a learning curve. It's a complete learning curve. What I'd known years ago, since doing ghost hunting when I was 10, to what I know now, is completely different for me.
It's a long time ago.
I was 2 years ago. But it's different things. I mean, what you know now, then you think, oh, you go to what you know now when you're actually doing it more, and you get asked to do things and experience things. It's completely different. You learn, and all the time as you do things. That's the secret, I think. The evidence. People say to me, well, what's your evidence? I've got tons of it. But whether people believe it or not, I don't know. If you come with me on an investigation and something happened, like I did with Arthur, I spoke to Arthur for 45 minutes. Did I use any? Did I speak to him through my equipment? No, none of it. Did I speak to him through knock once, yes, twice for no? Yes, I did. I swear it was him, but still, will anyone believe it? That's another thing. You've got that step of getting the evidence,
isn't it, Tim? It's open to perception. Like you said, we all have our own beliefs, and we all have our own ways of working, and there's nothing wrong with that. We learn from each other that way.
That's another thing now to say to people. I ain't got to prove. I'm going to force it down your neck and say, well, you really need this. because we didn't know who it is. He says he's half an hour, but was he through the communication? I know that was genuine. And I had witnesses to that effect. And this is not the first time, but when I first I weren't getting any of this evidence coming through at the time, so I didn't know what happened. I think something's always happening. When I've gone in a supermarket and walked in the supermarket, and everything on the shelf fell off. The whole side of the whole store just was a little tremor, was it a little earthquake? But that was really strange. Seeing all these fruit and veg all over the floor in the whole supermarket, just as I walked past, you know. And I've had my car cut out for no reason. The mobile phones cut off, the car cut off, the radios. Sorry, look, everything just completely cut. Even our mobile phones wouldn't work. And I did steer. You know, you got power steering, so that cut off, and I did steering. And that was like it for a good 5 minutes, and then all the power come on. Boom. That's a strange experience. I can't explain that.
Because we've got so much coming through and we've got so little time. Sorry, Tel, I don't mean to be rude. We've got so little time. Phil has mentioned a good point, voice recorder. Thank you, Mr. Wyman, for joining us. But yeah, voice recorders. I personally, when I actually, I'll say this, and I'll be honest, and I'll hold my hands up. When I actually put batteries in it and use it and actually turn it on, I think are a very good piece of equipment. I have to say that because my husband bought me one for my birthday, and half the time I forget to take it out my pocket all night. So I've just got to put that out. And EVPs, I just want to ask this question. What are your thoughts on EVPs? Do you think it is spirit communication? Jane, I'll go with you first. Put you on the spot.
Well, when you get an EVP on the back of a question and the answer ties up to the question, if it's not, what is it? Is it a coincidence? Are you just picking up a frequency of, from a radio or something somewhere, and it's just happened to match? So I'd like to think that it is. But do I know for certain? No.
Do any of us know for certain? We don't, and that's why we do it.
Exactly.
To find out.
Well,
I am just going to throw questions at you guys because we are running out of time, and I also want to find out if any of you guys have got anything coming up or books coming out or anything else. I want to ask you about that quickly before we run out of time as well. As you've given us your time, I want to give you all an option to let us know of anything you've got coming out that's being released or anything like that. Dave says, mixed views on apps myself seem to be really good, others not so. Chantal says back to basics. We have to ask this one. Thoughts on SLS cameras? Kieran gave me a look. I'll let Kieran answer first.
Yeah, it's the same. Well, for me, it's the same question as dowsing rods, Ouija boards, EVPs, SLS cameras. These are all tools to help you investigate, and it's the approach that you take. If you do that, though, do the research on SLS cameras and the whole Connect, approach that a lot of groups are taking. Please do the research, because there is a perfectly natural explanation for the camera picking up on stick figures that are there when there's nobody standing there. There's a perfect natural explanation for it, and a big part of it is down to the reasons why the cameras were developed in the first place, which had nothing to do with ghost hunting. So from my perspective, I don't think they do what they say they do in a ghost hunting context, but if people want to use those for their own particular approach, then it's up to them.
Yeah, again, it's down to personal choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's down to personal choice, but it's all down to personal choice. But I would also encourage for all of these things, whether it's dowsing rods, EVP, apps, SLS cameras, doesn't matter what it is, give it a go. Tim and Wayne and Laura and Jane have all said the same thing. Give it a go. It's how we all got into ghost hunting. We tried what worked for us. But if you want to carry on using them, please do the research about them. Understand what they're actually doing. Understand about the alternative explanations. And then if you still want to carry on using them, then that's down to you.
Agreed.
I'll get off my soapbox.
And just adding on to like what Kieran's saying there is just keeping that open-minded as well. So whatever equipment you're using is obviously, if it's picking something up, don't jump to conclusions saying, think, oh, that's paranormal. Just keep that open-minded and see if there's other possibilities or other things what could be affecting that equipment.
Thanks, Phil.
It's definitely, to me, it's just quickly, it's like you say, it's practical. You know, you use experience when you use it. You know, what's furniture's in there that can pick up on certain furniture, on chairs and stuff like that. The SLS camera. Some of the old software they used was horrendous. That was rubbish. You know, you got to do your work on it to find out, and then you have to debunk it. If you get a stick figure on a chair, sitting on a chair, move the chair and see if they still sit on that in that chair. You know, you have to debunk them as you go, and you know, I've had a camera been pushed over, and I've captured a little child stick figure poking with his finger. You can see his hand poking the camera. Next minute, the camera's gone over. Could be just coincidence, but
Could be.
Could be coincidence. But it was strange that the camera was completely locked off, so there's nothing why that could have fell over. And the thing is, my cameras had been moved. The CCTV camera had been moved before that a few times during the night. So it weren't the first time. So that was interesting. So it still doesn't prove that it was a spirit or anything and paranormal, but just odd. I couldn't explain that, so I'd say it's paranormal. But then again, others might not say it's different.
We are literally running out of time, guys. I do apologise.
That's gone fast.
I know, it's gone really quick. I keep missing my husband's questions, not because I'm ignoring him, but because I've got so many. But we'll put this one out there. If, like me, your recorder has been in your pocket a long time, could it be static sometimes? Is what he said. Rude. I don't actually want an answer, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. One last question. I'm interested to know from all of you your thoughts on this. Your thoughts on infrared. Laura?
Yeah, it's something different to use, isn't it? I kind of think it repeats kind of what we've already kind of gone over, isn't it? It's like each to their own. SLS cameras, in my opinion, just can't even go there, can't stand them. Infrared, yeah, again, it's each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah. Kieran?
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah, infrared, you're talking about the use of a particular section of the light spectrum, which potentially can give you interesting evidence. So yes, why not? I guess I'm a big fan of the use of infrared cameras because you're able to capture stuff in low light. So why not?
Right, guys, we have gone over an hour. It's gone so fast. Laura, have you got anything you want to promote and let anybody know about and where to find you? And yeah, her new group she's going to set up to teach us all, which I outed her for on Wednesday night and decided that she was going to start teaching us online. So Laura is going to start teaching us online.
No, it's only a little bit. It's a bit of fun to get everyone through lockdown. Obviously, I do a little bit of witchcraft, and it's just something I've done way before any ghost hunting. It's just a natural part of me. So I'm just sharing that online for anyone who has an interest. Obviously, events will be back up and running when we can, and we'll be at Cabin in the Woods with Jason Voorhees chasing us. Yes. And we'll be at St. Bribal's Castle with a vampire themed weekend. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll all get going, and we've got loads of stuff coming up. So until then, stay safe, everyone.
Kieran?
Next Thursday, 21st of January, BBC Radio 4, The Battersea Poltergeist. Do check it out.
Oh, I saw
Next,
something about that.
yeah, next Thursday, the first 2 episodes, written and directed by Danny Robbins, and it's about a real case that happened 65 years ago in Battersea. Fantastic case, and it runs over 8 episodes, and you can get it. It's a podcast that'll be available on BBC Radio 4 website. So next Thursday, the first 2 episodes drop for that, and I've got a ghost book coming out in a few months called Ghosted: A New Generation of Studies of Hauntings. So look out for that.
Yeah, so we'll look out for that one. Wayne and Jane, I'm not going to ask you anything, no disrespect, because you are on this evening. And if I ask you too much, we're going to have nothing to talk about. Because we've asked you.
I'm hoping
Tim, Tim, do you want to let everybody know about Ghosted UK and where to find you?
Yes, we're in Norfolk on the old little east coast of nowhere. There's a ghost town. Yeah, I'm going to just say to everyone who's watching, well, not all of you, but after lockdown, anyone's really interested in what we do, get in touch, and maybe we, do some investigations, and you'll experience the, what we do, some of what we do. So it'll be quite interesting. If you dare, that is, I dare you. I dare Kieran to join us one night.
I will do, because I was born and bred in Norfolk, so I will do.
Oh, there you go. There we go.
You'll have to come down when we can, and come down, and we'll come and see if we can speak to Arthur Lowe.
Brilliant. Look forward to it.
Thank you all yet again for giving me your time. It's very much appreciated. Guys, stay online. Go over and join Gary as he chats to Richard Case. Think about that for a minute. And we'll see you all later. Thank you all so much. And all of you, stay where you are. Get donating. That's what he says. Get donating.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.